Hello, hello.
Greetings.
Greetings and salutations.
There you are.
Where does that come from?
I feel like it's maybe alien movies from the 1950s. I don't know.
Could be.
Like what would Martians say when they got here? I don't know. Something with the advent of TV. I don't know. You know what I miss watching though? I got to tell you, I don't know what you did when you were young and you were sick home from school, but I would watch I Love Lucy.
Hmm.
I love Lucy. Like it was such a great show, That and like Bewitched.
I, Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. You know those were my shows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Tracks.
Adam's Family and the Munsters.
Mm.
Um, Younger Gilligan's Island and the Brady Bunch.
I
But
love them. Yep.
you want to know funny like true story? Like I never really liked cartoons.
Interesting.
Like Saturday morning, the show that I was looking forward to was Land of the Lost.
I don't even know what that is.
Because you're too much younger than me, but it was the Slee Stacks and Chewbacca, and it was this father took his kids rafting, and they like rafted through this portal and ended up in another time when dinosaurs still existed,
Oh
and
wow.
but it was not cartoon. It was like actors and people
No,
in
we
costume.
watched a ton of cartoons. Like I mean, to tell you that we have a DVD player somewhere in the house, and I'm gonna have my son connect it to our main television. I hope there's some sort of port. I don't know for these things to connect. I don't even know how that technology works anymore because my kids are 14, but I have all the DVDs that we purchased when they were 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. And if I tell you that we have like 50 Disney movies and 90% of them make me cry. So I'm like, I want to go through them and just watch them all one more time. They're all animated, just for old time's sake. And then I'll be able to Marie Kondo them out of our lives. But it's gonna hurt a little bit, not gonna lie, because I love those cartoons. you
Yeah,
know?
I've watched a few Disney movies and mm, it's not really my thing.
No, well, they most of them start with a pretty brutal opening, and then like you can't overanalyze it. You have to just and take it for what it is, and enjoy it.
Well, and
Um,
like I read these commentaries about when you look at these stories, like how truly horrific.
oh yeah,
Like, these are for children, and they're just like they're all just horror stories.
yeah. Well, even for adults, like I think that's it. Is that the movies are made for both, so that because there's always a little something hidden that only an adult would get, or things like that. Because you got to sit through the movie, right? So they want you to go and take your kid or whatever. So it's a little bit of both. But anyway, I don't know. I love them anyway. So, but yeah, all good, all good.
Yeah, I'm not even a Disney person either. Like everyone's like, let's go to Disney, and I'm like, let's not and say we did.
I mean, I don't like all the walking around, but I love, you know what I love? I love the concept of Disney. Like, I love how when you go to Disney, they don't tell you no. They tell you no through a yes, right? So, what time do you close? We're open until 8 p.m., right? And, I've told you there's a garbage can every 10 feet. There's someone around every corner to answer your question. Like, it's how I think it should be. And I want to say Walt Disney said something like, I can't remember what the exact phrase was, but it was something like, when you're in here, I want you to forget about out there. You know what I mean? Like, this is like, we're going to make this like a fantasy world. So, like, don't even refer to the outside world. We're just going to, it's only going to live in here. I love that. Like, give me a place to escape. I love it. I'll take it.
So the one escape that can get me back to Disney is the Avatar riding the Banshees. Have you done this?
I have not. No. I don't think I've been
That
to Disney since my kids were a year. Like, maybe it's been, I don't know, 12 years.
okay. So yeah, it's been a while, but um we got very lucky. I met my brother and his family up there. Like I think we went in September and the Avatar stuff had just opened up in May. And there were people like waiting in line like 3 and 4 hours to go on this ride. But somehow like we timed it just right. Our wait was like an hour and a half. And but this thing is so like you literally feel like you're riding the Banshee. I
Wow.
was like, I
Wow.
am transported to yeah, it was
Yeah.
I
Most of
am
that stuff
in
just makes you like,
Pandora with my people and just leave me here forever.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Most of those type of rides make me want to throw up anyway. So
Yeah, I forget about that. Like you don't like roller coasters and stuff, do you?
I mean, I like them okay. I'll do everything once, but generally, like I'm not an addict for sure.
Yeah. Bless you, bless you. All right. Shall we bring on our guest? Hello, hello. Welcome to the show, Dee.
Hi, ladies. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
We are excited you're here and super excited because to let our audience know, like, we had a last minute cancellation. And my girl here, like, just stepped up and said, yes, I got you guys. I am available for you. So we appreciate that so much. And we'd love for you to take a moment to introduce yourself to our audience, tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what keeps you passionate about what you do.
My name is Dee Clark. Um, it's a longer name because I'm a Latina, so I have like two names. Like, our parents love the two names just because our grandma, and then like the other grandma is gonna get mad. So, like, just to make it very short, I just decided to just keep it very simple, D, for everyone. And so I am the founder of My Stellar Compass. I am a holistic practitioner. Um, don't like to call myself a coach or a mentor or a guru. I am a facilitator. I am here to help people remember, because our souls already carry the knowledge. All of us have the knowledge. All of us are on this journey with everything that we need. We just decided to forget, because otherwise it would defeat the purpose, right? Um, and so I am here to help those who want to remember, those who are ready to just connect with their soul and go on this journey of navigation through astrology and herbalism. I didn't start all there, and that's where Julieta and I met. I was actually a speech language pathologist for many years, 20 something years to be more exact. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. It was definitely my passion. I still do some of it. But I started feeling very connected to that other realm, to that spiritual realm. I always had that mystical side of me ever since I was little. My mom, which was a blessing, I had, even though I grew up in a very traditional Latino family, a Colombian family, my mom, and religious, my mom never cut that part of me, never castrated me being so esoteric, mystical. She actually promoted it more. She would give me like the deck of cards. She had like friends that were astrologers, so they made like these little cute astrology booklet for me when I was only 7. And so I would just entertain but like all my parents' friends when they would come to the house. And that's why I also call myself a storyteller, because I would just like people would just come and I would just perform either a story or just show them the little booklet with. And I always was very fascinated with astrology. I was that friend who was always asking, what's your sign, who are you dating, what's his sign, oh my god, like, I don't know, maybe you guys are not compatible. Oh,
Oh,
that's tricky, that's gonna be So I was always that. Then I went into these very clinical, very rational uh, world, and I think that was needed also for me to learn and remember a lot of things about my own journey, right? And so yeah, so I was that clinical therapist. I loved it, but within that space, I started facilitating a lot of those things, guiding, helping people remember why this happened to you. This is not punishment. This is not something bad. This is actually a blessing. Where is the blessing? Where can we find the blessing in a brain injury or a stroke? How can we find the potential here for your gift? Because there's definitely before and after, and coming into a different life now. So how are you, what does your soul want you to remember to take over that journey? So that's how I basically started becoming more and more and more, little by little, that holistic practitioner. And then I started feeling not so connected with the clinical field anymore, and it started bothering me because I actually fought it. It was not easy. It was not an easy journey. I felt um, kind of like a failure for a while. I questioned myself. I pushed myself to keep doing that clinical side, and I was still negating a lot of like that holistic component. And just with an entire set of events with my own personal life, I got really sick. I went into this dark night of the soul, and that really pulled me through and showed me. And then I met beautiful mentors that really led me through it and showed me and helped me remember my new journey, my new chapter, and that it was okay. Like, this was a clinical therapist, and that's great, and that was beautiful, a beautiful gift, and I helped a lot of people. But with this new one, I can still be offering my gift. It doesn't mean that a side of you just died. It's just as a transition. And so that's where I'm at, and that's how my stellar compass was born. I basically studied herbalism. I went on into getting very serious about astrology, so I also got myself a couple of good mentors. I'm very conventional when it comes to astrology, so I went with the old guys, because I love their wisdom. I wanted my mentors to be like those old souls that really had been doing it and carried this tool for years. So yeah, so and then I decided, it is a beautiful combination, because plants are all also like us, connected to the planets, connected to the cosmos. um, Even medicine, traditional medicine, comes from that, comes from the tribal connection, the shamanism of connecting plants with the planets, with the moon cycle, to be able to facilitate, to support, to guide other people who needed it in the space, right? For either body, mind, or emotional type of condition. So that's what I've been doing. I've been facilitating. Like I said, not, I don't like to call myself a coach or a mentor. That's giving myself way too much responsibility. I like to give the responsibility to those who work with me, and that's why I call it my stellar compass, because it is your compass. You remember your story, the characters, the lessons, your gifts, and then you own it. You own your compass, and you navigate through it, through life, with more ease. Once you own that, you no longer have to feel like a victim of situations or events.
I think that's super, super. Like the most powerful tool there is for people to get out of their victimhood and start realizing that they've created the life that they have. Like you can keep pointing fingers and blaming people for stuff, but until you realize that you actually created that, that's the moment when you can take your power and take the control over your life. If I mean, there is no such thing truly as control, but to claim your power, you have to recognize that you have created your life, whatever that is. And if you've created that, you have the power to create something different if you don't like what you have.
Exactly. That's why we have free will. And we always have that choice to either stay where we're at in that victimhood or own and take responsibility, radical acceptance, radical forgiveness to, oh, okay, this is happening for me, not to me. How do
For
I
me.
go about it? Like, is empowering.
Absolutely. And astrology, like I've never gone to the extreme that I need to know this and understand this to help other people with it, but it is so fascinating to me how it's one of these things that has stood the test of time. I mean, astrology has existed forever. Going to Egypt and seeing the astrology signs painted on the ceilings of these ancient temples is like, wow, this stuff has been here forever. That is so cool.
We're talking about Sumerian times. We're talking about Babylonian, like it's just, and it's being used by different civilizations, and they didn't even know each other. So how powerful. Yeah. And it's so precise. It doesn't, every time I get so, it's such a confirmation. It's such a powerful tool because even when I'm just talking to a friend about it, about events that are happening, like personal events, like, yeah. For example, this past weekend, I went to a beautiful permaculture convergence in Central Florida. Because, like I said, I'm a herbalist. And so I'm right now really into getting my hands on and planting my own plants and food and everything. So, and I was excited about the weekend. I was like, okay, it's gonna be great connection, people, like-minded people. But something was pulling me, and I like to not be such a control freak because I have moon in Scorpio, and Scorpio can be very controlling. So I like to keep that astrology tool as a is a beautiful tool that is there available, but not to be constantly thinking or doing everything on my day based on the transits, right? Is more of a navigation and self-discovery and accepting and my gifts type of tool. But I was feeling really off. And then I was just talking to a friend and realized, oh, of course, the moon is in Scorpio. Great. So I got a couple of crazy news there that touch my emotional field. And of course, my moon is my emotions. Your moon is how you feel. So even though I was in the most beautiful space, there were parts of me that were working with the contrast. And that's also beautiful because then you have the awareness of what contrast is, and that life is not going to be rainbows and fairy tales and butterflies. And it's okay. It's okay to feel like, oh, then sometimes it's okay to feel emotional, but how do you navigate that? That's the key.
Yeah, it is a powerful navigation tool. I was trying to explain that to people, like to go have an astrology reading isn't, like they think that it's like going to a psychic, a fortune teller to like see your future. And I said, it's really more to give you tools to help you navigate, the upcoming time more easily, to be able to see the potentiality of what's coming forward so that you can make different choices and navigate through it, um, however you choose to navigate through it. Um, yeah,
It's interesting because exactly like you're saying, most people, when you think about astrology, but it's because it's been sold mainly under the horoscope and the prediction space. So everyone or most people are going to gravitate towards that, and that's what I like to educate a lot. So that's what I always tell everyone who come to me for the first time and they think that is about prediction and when am I gonna find my soulmate and when is he gonna arrive or when am I gonna find that job. Um, I always tell them this is more, or at least my approach, because yes, astrology has different ways to interpret it, different, like so many, is a vast um type of, is so expansive that there are different, even different types of astrology. Like there's very Vedic astrology, Chinese astrology, then the Western astrology. So and within the Western there is evolutionary astrology. There are so many different. So how do you approach it is basically more based on your style, and the people that are gonna come to me, they're gonna resonate. They need the message to be delivered that way. So I give it as not that predictive tool, but is exactly what you're saying, Julieta, is a tool for, oh, this is why I feel the way I feel, because my moon is in Aries. So I can be very impulsive. I want to be the first one. I want to be recognized. Or, oh, my rising is, oh, I see my rising is in Libra. So that's why I'm very family oriented. And I wanted to, so all these things, Capricorn. So is this very empowering thing of, oh, now I know why I am the way I am, and it doesn't mean that you cannot change yourself. Oh, that's the way I am, and you, everybody has to accept me. But how do I make, because like I was saying earlier, is a contrast, is light and darkness. So every aspect of astrology, like every aspect on this planet, is going to be either balanced or unbalanced. So you can either take that Libra rising, the good parts of it, or try to balance between the dark sides and the light sides, and bring a positive ripple effect to the collective. So it's not only individual, it's an individual tool and it's powerful, but when we're creating this ownership, when we are able to navigate with more compassion, when we are able to understand better, I do something called family constellation in astrology.
oh,
So when you're able to recognize that your daughter or your nephew or your cousin or your husband or your mother-in-law, they're the way they are because they're in your chart representing this particular story that you need to live. How do you integrate that instead of fighting it, instead of rejecting it, instead of saying, oh, my mother-in-law is just terrible, or my partner is a toxic narcissist? Well, you picked those traits. He's just showing you what you created, this script for that person, because he's the character of your story. So how powerful is that? So when you have that, it's like, oh, I'm no longer able to say, oh, I'm this way because my mom dropped me, and her mom dropped her. Like there's a song that actually says that. It's just the birth of responsibility is one of my favorite songs. But you know, is that type of self-awareness that we all need. I think it's so needed right now that we're shifting so much, and we're in this uh conscious awareness. But how do we put it together to be cohesive, right?
So I'm curious, what is a book that you would recommend? Like maybe a beginner's book, or like your be all end all book, or the book that really can like open someone to the path, or what do you think would be a must have book to just kind of know a little bit?
Well, in terms of what I do, I actually, my favorite book that I actually recommend to all my clients is not even about astrology, because astrology is just one of the tools, right? But my favorite book that I love to recommend to everyone is called Radical Forgiveness,
Hmm.
Colin Tippin. Colin Tippin. And it's just such a powerful tool, because exactly is talking about how you recognize you are the creator. And this is not even talking about astrology. The book doesn't mention anything about astrology. It talks about the journey and how it's giving you all the responsibility of, oh, this is why the dynamic in your relationship is the way it is. So what's your part in it? Why is this lesson coming through? How do I integrate that? So that was one of the most powerful books when I was going through my the dark night of the soul, when I was integrating everything I was learning, and when I was putting together all the pieces of the puzzle for my stellar compass. I stumbled upon this amazing book, and I just couldn't get enough. And every time I go back, because it has also activities, it has exercises to go through, like worksheets,
Wow.
accountability worksheets, which I love.
I think Graciela really don't you always say you love like a workbook and
I know. Although I start freaking out that I'm going to write in a book, so I usually don't write in the book. I usually write on a piece of paper to the side so I can reuse the book. But that's really cool. That's good. I love books that give action steps. That's important.
No, that's an amazing, amazing book. In fact, yeah, always have recommended it to all my clients. And I keep a copy. So I share like these PDF with them every time.
nice, nice. And I think like forgiveness is something that um people often see it as like you are giving the person that you're forgiving like a get out of jail free card, and people are like, no, what they did was so wrong, I can never forgive them. And I said, your forgiving of them does not make what they did right. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with setting yourself free, because as long as you don't forgive them, you are their prisoner.
That's it.
And it's a hard pill for some people to swallow, but like if you really want to heal yourself and move forward, you're gonna have to forgive people. And like I said, it doesn't mean what they did was right, doesn't mean that it wasn't wrong. It just means that it no longer holds you prisoner and you get to be free and move forward.
That's it. Yeah. And is you're slave of the person who did it, you're slave of the story, and you keep repeating that story all over. You keep recreating it in your mind when you are in that space, and that basically keeps you stuck
And
from.
sick, right? And sick. I mean, you
And
mentioned you're an herbalist, so I imagine that when people come to you and they are storing all of this in their body, that you help move all that through them, right? Not just with the astrology, with the herbalism too.
right. And with the herbalism combined with the astrology is very interesting, because they come with this condition, and when we look at the chart, is right there, and is just reflecting something about one particular story, one particular aspect. We have 12 houses. They all reflect different areas of our life. Is the wheel of life, pretty much. So when they come with a condition, um, chances are if there is an imbalance in one of the energies that have to do with either a feminine story or a masculine story, anything emotional that is being stored and is going to be just concentrated in the organ that is going to speak loud because that's how that person decided that that's the communication channel. It's very interesting with herbalism. So, and all the plants have a correspondence with the planets. So when there's a person that comes with the, let's say, depression or anxieties, is very mental, right? So you look at where the air energy is there, like Gemini, Aquarius, Libra. What's happening? What house is those areas? And yeah, is that component, that prominent placement of that air that is keeping that person slave of a particular condition, medical condition. So what the plant is going to do is not necessarily, I don't see the plant as curing, but is allowing space for the body, because we have a powerful vessel. This is our avatar. We chose it for a particular reason. So this avatar has the capabilities to heal itself. So we are just holding space, and the plant is coming through to hold space and connect to source, connect with that planet. So it's a beautiful connection. It's a beautiful and powerful connection.
So interesting.
It is fascinating. It never fails. Yeah, never
As I
fails.
always, both of us coming from the Western medical model, and then, like I've done a lot more in the acupuncture, Chinese medicine realm, and so many of our conditions, like if you try and explain it in Western medicine, there is like no way to explain it. But when you step out into it all makes perfect sense. And but I'd never thought so much about looking at from an astrology standpoint. So
Yeah, it's crazy. For example, I'm always cold, always. That type of person who doesn't like the AC. And you live in Florida. How crazy are you? Like summertime, and you don't keep your AC on. But I'm always cold because I have Saturn. Saturn is in my first house, and Saturn is cold. Is a really cold planet, and is very restrictive and constrictive. And so I have to balance that with things. And I'm a Sag, like you, Julieta. So fire. So I do have a lot of fire in me, but there is a component that is somehow blocking. And my rising is also in a fire element in Leo. So, but I have that Saturn in that Leo space. So I have to compensate with my herbs, with my blends, with the plant that is connected to the sun, that's gonna bring more vitality. So that's how I keep myself connected to the energy of fire without having to go so much fire that I can be volatile, right? I can be out of hand, which is possible. So keeping it with something that is connected to the sun, that is very soothing and feminine energy, like cinnamon. And that's the correspondence. Cinnamon is connected to the sun, and it gives vitality, is ruled by the sun. So a herb, like I like to keep my blends. I like to add in my hot cocoa, my hot chocolate, cinnamon, cloves, those elements that are gonna keep the warmth and bring vitality. So it's just to give you an example.
very cool. Very cool. I'm like, I think I'm going to do a consultation with you just because this is so fascinating. So, but we're running out of time here. I'm wondering if you have one little last golden nugget of wisdom to share with our audience.
Your soul is so wise. I always tell everyone to always trust that little voice. We tend to neglect it a lot. But when we truly connect, we all have the power of intuition. It's not given to some. We all have the power. That's what I always tell everyone. You carry your own power. And so the moment you own it, that's it. You're the owner of your universe. So that's my piece of wisdom. Just trust within always.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on and sharing so much of yourself with us. We
Thank
appreciate you.
you. Thank you for having me. This is a beautiful space. I love being here.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in. And if you'd like to get in touch with any of us, check the show notes and you will find our details there. Have a magical day, everyone.